got some of our pastor friends that had been through there, like Joe Buckles and
Baggett?
John Baggett, John and the others. They were pastors of inner city groups, and one of them had a black pastor, and the others Latino. So I had a black one, black gang leaders in every week to develop them over that, and then the guy Barnett, Don Barnett, he had one of the Latinos, and so we'd go down and lecture to have our seminars with them, and then we'd come back and pray them back then. And then I remember the first night I went down there. God, they took us through one place to another place to another place, building in the heart of the ghetto, away from our cars. So we could have easily been murdered down there and left to hang before and never found us. But they took us on a stage, and this guy came out. He had a top hat and a cane. It was the leader. And he was ahead of us. We all sat down around the big table in that huge stage, and we had our course around there. And he was the head of that group, you know. Whereas the Latino was an entirely different group when we come back. So we came in to the end of the Saturday. We had our Guernica, and the boy, our black guy's eyes were like this, you know, the stereotype black look. All look at that thing. And the other guy reported, he said, when they turned Guernica around, the Latinos just all jumped up and down and ran round and round and round. Get to stop and look at the thing, and they'd run around and around and around and stop and look again. Finally, after about 2 or 3 times around, they'd sit down and just look and turn their eyes away, you know, like that. And then the fourth lecture on Sunday, we traded off. And I went to hold the Latinos, and Don Warren went to hold the others. Well, they were, by that time, exhausted, and the Latinos were very well behaved or something like that. And the Don said his guys were just like passive niggers. And so I don't know what they all here, we'd awakened them and everything, and they turned around, didn't act right at the end of it. So my guys were passive over here, you know. So anyway, that was our first experience with the ghetto thing. And later on, we had white gangs too. Baggett sent us a white gang. They were the worst to handle, white gangs. And I remember there, we had them over to the gymnasium. You remember gymnasium in Fifth City down below? And we had, instead of, one of the art forms was on, what's the other thing, the TV programs of that time, like, they had 2 sets of TV programs with Edge.
Twilight Zone?
Yeah, Twilight Zone was one of them, and the other was End Zone, or the Third World Zone, Ozone Zone, or something like that.
Huh, don't know.
Well, anyway, you know, you couldn't, these guys wouldn't come back unless you had captured them the first night. You couldn't have drug them back by wild horses. So we had to win, you know, with every stage of the game. Well, after they'd been through Bulwan, you know, they were so came back for the next night. Well, I don't know, so they had this TV program where there were a race of people reduced to not atoms, but not protons or photons, but what is it, other down layer, quarks. Quark, you know. They were reduced to quarks in this phone line, and on this one telephone line was a whole race of people of quarks that used to be human beings, or were human beings, to mention their quirkness, as you expanded your quirk back to a human being, you know. And the whole thing was trying to get them back. And they had a computer, everything but the thumb or one of the fingers. And they'd go back and they'd find that place and they'd put that finger back, and till they got the whole hand back. They got it all but one thing, and there's the thumb or the little finger, I forget, before they got them all back. And when they get that, that whole human race would come back. Well, they ended, next episode. I sat over there and almost died, And I thought, God, will ever those guys come back, or what if they do? What if they don't show? What are we going to talk with them about? How are we going to go back to it?